Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. As part of our effort to share our experience, expertise, and learnings over time, today we'd like to discuss site monitoring in clinical trials. Now, why do we need monitoring of clinical trial sites? Well, monitoring helps verify that the rights and well-being of patients are protected, the reported trial data are accurate, complete, and verifiable from source documents, and also helps ensure that the conduct of the trial is in compliance with the approved protocol or the amendments thereof. It helps verify that it's conducted in accordance with GCP and also with the applicable regulatory requirements, considering local requirements as well. Now, to further discuss the nuances associated with site selection, we have two experts in the area, Brandy Chittester and Martin Schulz. So I'd like to welcome you all to what promises to be an information-filled session. Brandy and Martin, thank you for joining me today and for being willing to share your experience and expertise in this area.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. So let's get right to it. First question, what factors influence clinical trial site management, and how does location specificity impact this item?
Yeah, okay. I will answer, Jay. Thank you for your invitation here. Site management in clinical trials is essentially determined by the risks analyzed for the study. We distinguish the three risk categories, low, medium, and high. This primarily refers to the risk to the study participants, the risk to the data quality, and the risks of the study failing. Low-risk study will be more remote monitoring. High-risk studies will be with more on-site monitoring. Medium-risk study will be a combination of both approaches. And if the study performance and data quality at a particular site is very good, you can switch from on-site monitoring to more remote monitoring and vice versa.
I would also echo that and say, we have some additional flexibility in the U.S. for remote monitoring because sometimes we can get access directly to site records, which allows us to do remote monitoring of the source data from home, essentially. So we can factor some of that into and how the sites like to work. So that's a big piece of, the monitoring piece is that consistent oversight throughout the trial and providing real-time feedback so that if there are some issues we find, we can course correct and provide some instruction. And, we want to try to catch those early and help make sure that, the data is good, like we mentioned before. So we basically tailor our approach as well to the study, like Martin said, based on the risks and the comfort level of the risks, with the sponsor, but then also with the sites and their level of expertise and research and the kind of oversight they need. And then, what abilities they have for us to support them, either on site or remotely.
Okay. And any specific comments on location specificity related considerations?
Yeah, in Germany, the hospital information system may not be validated due to incomplete audit trails. And change assessments are tricky to follow and are not in line with GCP guidelines. That's why this electronic data is not a source. And the data should be printed out and with the hint that it is a true and verified copy. But maybe this is special in Germany.
That's right. Yeah, the hospital records that we work with in the U.S. typically do have a really detailed audit trail with who changed and what and when. But that's, part of the challenge too is making sure that we have the local resources that understand, the needs in each of these regions and how to make sure that we're looking at the true source and getting that data verified.
Okay. Great. So from what I understand of what I just heard, is that study monitoring is a crucial component of GCP, and it is towards ensuring the safety and rights of study participants, the quality of data set, and the confidentiality of personnel information, right? Or not personnel, personal information. And we're talking about patients here. So, and you talked about some of the specifics associated with it in terms of risk considerations and so on. You talked about geography specificity. Let's move on to what are the different site monitoring strategies and what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of the same?
Yeah, site monitoring, if carried out on-site, can be geared towards 100% source data verification or less. This usually depends on the data quality at the site in question. The greatest attention is always paid to the participants' safety.
Mm-hmm. And we do have the ability, a lot of times I think when we think about site monitoring, we think about the source data verification piece. But of course, there's more than that. And there's also different ways to make sure we're using our resources effectively. And so we can do some centralized monitoring where we, look at the data in the electronic data capture system and we try to see outliers. Is there a site that seems to be underperforming or, they just, maybe their data looks a little different than some of the other sites as far as safety events. Maybe there's a lot more, maybe a lot less, or maybe they're having a hard time answering queries or getting their data entered. We're aware that they've enrolled patients, but we're not seeing the data. So then we can pay a little more attention to them and provide a little more support to make sure that there is compliance. And then, so again, going back to that tailored approach, but we can, kind of ramp up or ramp down, kind of like we talked about before. And so that risk level really changes throughout the study and we're always looking at it as we go.
So it's not something that's set in stone up front and then you have a certain approach to it. It's tailored based on the outcomes of monitoring. Makes sense. Okay. Want to dwell on this topic a little bit more. So tell me, how do you ensure effective site management and how do we ensure audit readiness?
Yeah, good question. And it is back to that piece of, it's not just the source data verification, but it's working with the sites and answering questions and making sure that queries are being responded to in between visits and that there is support for questions that come up, or if we learn something from one site, making sure we tell the other sites so that everyone can learn from that and that we maintain consistency. And as far as like the audit readiness, we kind of always think that way. So we're always thinking, is this documentation complete? Are there gaps? And if something was done that isn't clear, then how can we make the documentation a little better? Because in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, we might not remember exactly how this happened, or we might have different people working on the project. So we want to make sure the documentation tells the story. So we kind of think in that mindset, if you were audited tomorrow, would this tell the story you want it to tell?
Yeah, all what Brandy said is correct, and I totally agree with that. And I have nothing to add from my side.
So it's, from my perspective too, thinking of it from the regulatory side of things, we have a term for it. Is the story audit tight? And that's what you're referring to, right? Is the story audit tight? And in connection with the same, how does 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏's approach, which I realize that we're trying to bring together best practices in industry. We're trying to roll in the expertise of all our personnel. And in doing that, how does our approach to site management help, say, reduce queries and ensure responses are available to queries when they come up?
Yeah, our CRAs are very well trained on the protocol and are specialists for all questions regarding data quality and study implementation. They see themselves as a partner of the site and can therefore help at any time.
Yeah, exactly. We work really hard to streamline our teams as well. Having the MedTech focus, I think, really helps us because the studies are set up in a little bit of a different way. The size might be different, even if we're working in a lot of regions. We try to reduce the burden on the sites by having the CRA be their main point of contact, and we funnel our communication that way. And we have, good team communication as well. So like we mentioned before, if a CRA or a data manager or project manager learns something, then we make sure that information goes out to the site team right away so that then the rest of our sites, can benefit from that. So we don't work in silos, and we're very much oriented as a team and dedicated to the projects that we're assigned to. And yeah, the CRAs definitely look at that partnership closely and work to form good relationships to be a help, not afraid to roll up our sleeves and dig in and help out, help problem solve, and, get in there with them. And likewise with the sponsor, we love to be considered a partner and really help to make sure that we're clean along the way.
Right. Yep. Close collaboration with the sponsor, communication, lean teams, bringing together all the best practices. I may have summarized what you already said, but I want to hear it from the two of you. And this is my final question for you. How does 𝗪𝘁𝗶𝘁's collective experience, key operative word being collective experience, make clinical trial site management more effective and more efficient? Can you help bring all of the ideas together, please?
Yeah, it's what you mentioned. Our structures are lean and efficient. Despite of that, we have a lot of experts, so we can deliver solutions in a very fast and timely manner.
Right.
And I would, I think a big benefit to going to a CRO is the fact that we do work with a lot of different kinds of clients and a lot of different types of devices and a lot of stages. Some things are very similar from study to study, but some things can be different. And I think that exercises, like the critical thinking and applying, you can't always apply the same solution, and things we can learn from one study can be applied to another that you might not get if you're, kind of just laser focused in one therapeutic area or one type of study. So I think sometimes that breadth of knowledge, and of course, like Martin said, having the others available to ask questions is always a help too, to get different perspectives and kind of bring that to the table.
Right. Brandy, I think you mentioned a very key point there, right? Borrowing our learnings from every project and ensuring that, we are doing better than what our previous project was, right? And also the fact that our processes are written with flexibility allows us to do this in combination with lean teams that work in close collaboration with the sponsor or the manufacturer. Okay, well, thank you both. Thank you both for helping us attain a better understanding of what it takes to monitor sites effectively and how 𝗪𝗁𝗋 approaches and achieves this aspect efficiently. Brandy and Martin, thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll talk once again soon on clinical trials related topics.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.